It's a special edition of AEW Dynamite. This is Fight for the Fallen, and Dynamite kicks off with footage shown earlier in the day of Eddie Kingstons returning to AEW. He finds Jon Moxley and tells him whilst he was away recovering, he came up with a great idea. He wants Mox to meet a few people. Mox is hesitant as Kingston leads him outside the locker room. Penta, El Zelo, Miedo and Rey Fenix stand by waiting. Mox doesn't seem to like this idea as he's had trouble with the Lucha Brothers before. Kingston tells Mox of how he has grown up with Penta and Fenix. They've been through thick and thin together, and it's more important, more so now than ever, to stick together and settle the score with the Elite tonight. 4v4, 8-man tag, them versus the Good Brothers and Dez and Wentz of Impact Wrestling. We get 65 for this segment, and it is the match that kickstarts this special edition of Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen, and in a good match, it is Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, the Lucha Brothers that defeat the Rascals and the Good Brothers in 12 minutes 57. Jon Moxley pinning Dez after a paradigm shift. Eddie Kingston was the only weak link in this match, but you can see Mox, the overperformer in this one with the 91. Expect nothing less really from Jon Moxley, who did shine in this match. The match getting the crowd buzzing. That's what we like to see at the start of an episode of Dynamite. Always start with a match. Let's get off to a flyer. Let's get those fans interested and think, right, we're going to stick around here. They've started off strong. Let's see what else they've got to give. After the match, Moxley is on his knees. He's tired. He is drained. Kingston, Penta, Fenix, they stare down the Good Brothers, Dez and Wentz as they hightail it up the ramp. Mox gets to his feet, looks at the other three and then proceeds to fist bump them all. It seems as though Mox's uprising against the Elite is coming together with the help of Eddie Kingston using some contacts of his own. Mox a bit hesitant, but it seems as though at this moment in time he can trust the likes of the Lucha Brothers. The enemy of my enemy is my friend and all. Jim Ross then proceeds to say, it's Wednesday, you know what that means. It's a special edition of Dynamite. We are Fight for the Fallen. Tonight's main event sees Lance Archer face off against the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, for his TNT Championship. Will Cody be able to overcome yet again like he did against Miro? Or will we have a new TNT Champion crowned tonight? And this past week, AJ Styles took to social media to say he has an announcement to make here tonight. Also later tonight, a few matches will be announced for the hottest new show to AEW, that is Ignite, on Monday nights. Last week, Shayna Baszler decided to stay instead of retiring. She gets a shot at Dr. Britt Baker here tonight, and that's not all. We'll be hearing from Darby Allin and the Hardy Brothers after what went down last week. All that and so much more on this special edition of Dynamite. We are in front of 9,925,000 fans at the Sun Arena at the KC Plaza. Well, let's go over tonight's match card then. So we're going to see SCU against Private Party. Tension's been building between those two lately. Also, Sammy Guevara will get a shot at Orange Cassidy. And after deciding to stay instead of retiring, Shayna Baszler will face Dr. Britt Baker later this evening after words were exchanged last week. AJ Styles of the Bullet Club also has an announcement to make here tonight. I wonder what that entails. Also, there is an announcement to be made ahead of the debut of Ignite next Monday with Tony Schaivone later tonight. And how about this, our main event? Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the TNT Champion, defends against Lance Archer, who is going to come out on top. So, continuing this special edition of Dynamite, we see Scorpio Sky. He makes his way out towards the commentary desk as he joins JR Excalibur and Tony Schiavone ahead of SCU against Private Party. These two teams did do battle last week on Dynamite in that 8-man tag, and this week in a decent match, SCU defeat Private Party in 14 minutes 24. Frankie Kazarian pinning Marquen with a wave of the future. What a move that is as well. Performed by Frankie Kazarian, if you've ever seen it. I'm sure you have. Frankie Kazarian with a 59. Christopher Daniels with a 58. How about Marquen with a 60 there? It's fantastic to see. And Private Party, of course, did show excellent chemistry teaming together. And obviously, throughout this match, SCU were aware of their former tag team partner Scorpio Sky up on commentary. Well, after the match, Frankie Kazarian grabs a mic and calls to Scorpio Sky, who was up in commentary, and he asks Scorpio if they're going to do this or not, or is he going to continue to run away from his problems and keep burying his head? And Scorpio retaliates by saying that's rich. That's all SCU have ever done since they lost those tag titles to Page and Omega back in 2020 on Chris Jericho's Rock and Roll Rager cruise. And then he takes shots at Christopher Daniels, saying that that's all Daniels has ever done since he lost his edge in TNA. This shot gets Daniels riled up. Sliding into the ring is Ethan Page, and he attacks both Kazarian and Daniels from behind. Scorpio races to the ring and helps Page, and they beat down SCU. Page hits his ego's edge on Daniels. Sky locks in an ankle lock on Kazarian. Private Party watch on, nodding their appreciation on the outside of the ring. Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, bump fists, and exit, leaving SCU hurting in the ring. So there we go. Men of the Year are together in this save, just like they are in real life. Where can we take them? Is the sky the limit? We'll have to wait and see. As up next, as Scorpio Sky, Page and Private Party exit, they walk past Tony Schiavone, who stood at the top of the entranceway with a mic in hand, and he says, "Alright folks, it was announced last week by Tony Khan that AEW's brand new show Ignite will debut this coming Monday. It will feature all of AEW's main stars and some new faces too. And one of those new faces is here tonight, and someone who'll be competing next Monday. Let's bring him out." A countdown from 10 to 1 begins as Christian Cage walks out dressed casually to a big pop. Tony Schiavone welcomes him and asks him who he will be facing. As Christian Cage goes to answer, he gets interrupted by AJ Styles. Styles is all smiles as he talks about getting in the ring again. He wants his debut in AEW to be special. He wants his debut to be this Monday on Ignite. He wants his debut match against Christian Cage. Cage takes a moment, nods his head, and accepts. Both shake hands. This Monday on Ignite, Cage against Styles. We all remember the rivalry, the heated rivalry between Christian Cage and AJ Styles over in TNA in its glory days. Maybe we could tap into a little bit of that, a little bit of a throwback for Monday Night Ignite. Up next, the Elite are backstage in their locker room watching the monitor. Kenny Omega can't believe what he's watching. Christian old-timer Cage in AEW? What is Tony Khan thinking? On the brand new show of Ignite as well. Don Callis says it should be the AEW World Champion Kenny by God Omega to main event the show, not those has-beens. Matt and Nick Jackson agree, and they also think the World Tag Team Champions should be on the show also. They think it's time to start pulling their weights as EVPs, not the extremely violent people sort of EVP. They all agree to feature on Ignite in the ring, Matt and Nick against Mox and Kingston, and Omega can face, Omega jumps in and says, one of those Lucha whatchamacallits. Callis doesn't like it, but says he'll speak with Tony Khan. So we're going to be seeing Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks on Ignite this coming Monday, the debut show for AEW. Should be an interesting one. Looking forward to getting that booked. As our next match of the evening sees Shayna Baszler against Dr. Britt Baker. Words were exchanged last week when Shayna Baszler looked as though she was going to hand in her resignation, her form of retirement maybe, to Brandi Rhodes. Dr. Britt Baker saying, good, can't wait to see the back of you. Well, Shayna Baszler decided against it. She's staying, and she stepped into the ring here with her on Fight for the Fallen, and it is Dr. Britt Baker that beats Shayna Baszler with a quick roll-up. But that's only because of some interference by a masked individual. Well, after the match, the masked woman slides into the ring and stands beside Dr. Britt Baker, rips off her mask to reveal Deonna Purrazzo. Britt Baker has a mic and says this is just the beginning of the DMD era. Deonna is her insurance policy. Shayna Baszler is pissed off, as you can imagine. She's coming to AEW. She's been a dominant force, yet to really lose. And now here she is, losing in this fashion against Dr. Britt Baker. She's not happy. Backstage, we see Tessa Blanchard, the women's champion. She's got a women's title over her shoulder, watching a monitor and talking with her father, Tully. Of course, the big prize is that women's title. Dr. Britt Baker will certainly be setting her sights on that soon, especially if she keeps managing to notch up wins against the likes of Shayna Baszler. It's a big win, this, on Fight for the Fallen. Quite shocking as well, you'd expect, if this was real life. Anyway, up next, Matt Hardy is seen backstage looking and finally fighting Darby Allin, sat in a dark corner. Darby gets up to leave, but Matt wants Darby to hear him out. He apologises to Darby for what Jeff has put him through, and he apologises for the last couple of weeks, but at least Darby has a few wins under his belt now. It's not bad at all. Matt Hardy not really apologising for his actions, as you'll see. Darby looks Matt in the eyes and tells him he doesn't accept the apology. He is done with the Hardys, especially Matt. He hasn't helped him at all. Darby is no better off than he was a month or so ago. Darby walks off. Matt is annoyed and he starts to twitch slightly, talking to himself, saying it's all his fault. Should never have brought him here. Should never have opened up the door for him. He's obviously talking about his brother Jeff Hardy here. We saw him saying the same sort of thing last week on Dynamite after he brawled with him. Well, how about this? Christian Cage walks past and taps Matt on the shoulder saying, "Hey Matt, good to see you again." Matt storms off, leaving Christian Cage baffled and thinking, well, what did I do? But anyway, you're just going to have to stay tuned to see which route we decide to take Matt Hardy down. Do we go back to the broken character, or do we go for big money Matt? We could go either way with this one. Up next, before Sammy Guevara versus Orange Cassidy, a promo is shown where Taz is stood with Guevara and Ricky Starks. Taz talks about how Jericho might think he's playing mind games with Team Taz, but it won't work. Team Taz is made up of strong-minded individuals that only have one thing on their mind, and that's reaching the top and being the best. Tonight, Sammy gets back in the saddle as he looks to pick the bones of Orange Cassidy, of best friends, after the Machine Brian Cage beat him last week. It's just your typical through and through bad guy, heel sort of promo from Team Taz as Sammy Guevara goes on to lose against Orange Cassidy in a 63 rated match. It's about that had good heat, decent wrestling. Cassidy beating Guevara in 12 minutes 36 after a super kick due to botched interference by, you guessed it, Ricky Starks. Well, in Team Taz's point of view, that's the second time Starks has messed up. He lost to Jericho at Fight Fest just the other week, and now he's botched Sammy Guevara's match. The match ending saw both Guevara and Cassidy on the outside. Cassidy makes it back in. First, during the 10 count, Starks jumps up onto the opposite ring apron, distracting the ref to break the count. As Sammy goes to climb up, Jericho runs down the ramp. This is how it all went down. Taz going berserk. He points for Sammy to see. Sammy spins around, but it's too late as he gets hit with a Judas effect. He's knocked out clean. Taz is shouting at Starks, "What the hell are you doing?" The ref continues to count and makes it to 10 as Sammy is still out cold. Orange wins via count out. Jericho retreats with a smirk on his face. Taz starts pushing and shoving Starks for messing this up. So that's 2 now. 2 times Starks has messed up. Why was he on the ring apron? What was he thinking? Why is he distracting the referee? Guevara could have easily have got back into the ring with enough time remaining, but that just wasn't the case, and it plays right into Orange Cassidy's hands there. And Jericho getting physical once again with Team Taz. Where is this going to lead? You guys will have to wait and see. Up next, MJF is backstage. Matt and Nick Jackson bump into him. They make a few digs at how it seems Hangman Page has now deserted his Pinnacle brethren, just like he did to the Elite. Where's your little Hangman now, huh? MJF just smirks and walks off. Matt and Nick watch him leave with a smile on their faces, but that smile is instantly wiped off when the number 1 contenders for their tag title, Santana and Ortiz, with Conan round the corner. Both teams come face to face. Conan says he hopes Matt and Nick are ready to bleed for those titles because his boys are. they're willing to do anything to become the next World Tag Team champions. Santana and Ortiz continue to stand there as Matt and Nick slowly back away. They bump into Selena De La Renta. She says, "Have a good day, gentlemen." They leave. So Matt and Nick backed into some sort of corner there. Santana and Ortiz definitely now breathing heavily down their necks as they are the number one contenders for those World Tag Team Championships. And that match will take place at All Out towards the end of August. We get 72 for this segment. Up next, we hear from JR. He goes on to say, "So folks, it's almost time for our main event here tonight, but let's look ahead to next week. AEW Ignite debuts on Monday night, a night of firsts as Christian Cage will step into the ring for the first time in 7 years and for the first time in AEW against AJ Styles. And just confirmed by Tony Khan, the Young Bucks will face Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, and the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega will be in action against Rey FENIX. Some great matches lined up there and something not to be missed. Let's take it to the ring now for our main event between Cody Rhodes and Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. Well, before we do, let's have a look at that match card then. So Christian Cage against AJ Styles, both getting their in-ring debut here in AEW. It's took a while for Styles, I know, but should be an interesting one. We'll also see the Young Bucks against Wild Things of Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. It's a non-title matchup. And for the first time in this save, we'll see Kenny Omega step into the ring against Rey FENIX. I'm sure these two are going to put on an absolute classic like they did in real life not so long ago. Well, here we are then. Our main event, Cody Rhodes makes his elaborate entrance ahead of the main event TNT Championship match against Lance Archer. He walks out alongside Arn Anderson. Climbing into the ring, he holds his TNT title above his head. Lance Archer is out next with Jake Roberts. Once in the ring as Justin Roberts begins to announce champion and challenger, Arn and Jake get into each other's faces. They're arguing, it's a heated debate, and the lights begin to flicker, which grabs everyone's attention. And then Justin Roberts finishes his job. Aubrey Edwards calls for the bell as this match gets underway. Who is going to come out on top? Is Lance Archer going to be able to overcome the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes? Are we going to have a new TNT champion? Or is Cody Rhodes going to be able to defend once again against another monster here in AEW? Well, let's find out. In a bout that had fantastic heat and great wrestling, we've got an 85 for this match, for this main event, for Fight for the Fallen. Cody Rhodes defeats Lance Archer in 12 minutes 41 after a crossroads. Cody Rhodes making defense number 4 of the TNT Championship. We got an 85 for this match, certainly one of our better matches that we've had here in this save. And 85. We are so close, but seem yet so far away from that first 100 rated match. The match getting the crowd buzzing. Jake the Snake did some good work at ringside. Cody Rhodes had a new hot move. He put in an 88 in-ring performance, whereas Lance Archer put in a 61. Archer was really off his game, so maybe if he was on it tonight, Lance Archer, maybe we could have been up to the 87 mark. I don't know. But it is what it is. Anyway, after the match, Cody Rhodes retains. Cody is still TNT champion. He celebrates holding the title above his head, climbing up onto the middle rope with it around his waist. The arena lights flicker again. Arn Anderson congratulates Cody like a son. He hugs him and he raises his arm aloft. The arena lights go out. When they come back on, oh my God. Stood in the corner is Tommy End. Cody and Arn turn to face him, and straight away Cody is on the offense, but gets hit with a black mass. He is out cold. Arn goes to a knee to check on Cody. As he stands up, End hits another black mass. Arn is laid out next to Cody. Tommy End, it seems, is all elite, and Dynamite ends with him sadistically staring down the camera as it fades to black. So yes, I did take a lot of inspiration to what's recently happened But the plan was to always bring in Tommy End. He was always going to be feuding with someone like Cody Rhodes. I mean, at the moment, Kenny Omega is tied up with the likes of Pac and Jon Moxley, and of course Hangman Adam Page, and I just didn't see room for Tommy End. So it's shaping up nicely. I mean, for the AEW title, we'll have probably Omega against Hangman if it does happen. Then we've got the World Tag Team titles, the Young Bucks against Santana and Ortiz. And then I thought, well, what better way to debut Tommy End than at Fight for the Fallen, a big show, and maybe put him in a TNT title match against Cody Rhodes, or at the very least just put him in a feud with someone like Cody Rhodes. Those two putting on a fantastic match, I'm sure. We get a 77 for this special edition of Dynamite, this Fight for the Fallen edition, which ain't too bad. I'm happy with that. That main event really did pay off, so I'm really happy with that. I mean, that could have gone either way. I mean, I know Lance Archer was really off his game, but it could have been worse. But I'm really happy with that. So let's go ahead. Let's see how we've done with TV ratings this week. So this week we got 77, we had 9,925 in attendance, and we scored a 4.31 TV rating. I think that's the highest yet. We had a total of 3.2 million viewers tuning in. What would we do without that All Elite network, which drew in 1.8 million, and we still haven't smashed the 1 mil mark with TNT. Looking at NXT this week, they had a sellout, 5,000 in attendance. They scored a 72, but they only drew 1.5 million viewers. So we've absolutely slaughtered them this week, as we got 3.2 mil tuning in. And how about that? They had Brock Lesnar featuring also on their episode this week, and he lost to Mansoor. He lost. I can't believe what I'm actually reading. But anyway, there we go, we've beaten NXT yet again. The competition is in the mud. Love to see it. Anyway, that is it for this special edition of Dynamite Fight for the Fallen. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all very soon for the debut of AEW Ignite.